Okay, so let's think about the standard American diet for a minute. This is the food pyramid that we've all kind of been programmed into, right? We were taught this food pyramid since school days in all of our health classes. And so when we look at the food pyramid, the standard American diet, or the SAD diet, as I like to call it, then what we see is we actually see a ton of grains at the base of our diet, right? And let's just take a moment to connect with the world here and look at, what people are following. There is a very grain heavy diet, right? So we always are looking at, to add breads to our plates, or rice or pasta, all the good things that we think that we should be eating. And so if we look at it that way, we look at this pyramid that has all these grains, like these huge amounts of servings of grains at the bottom of the base of the pyramid, and we look out into the world, we can see that that has promoted a lot of sickness, because these grain-based diets not only are in these whole food things, like breads and rice and pasta like that, but they are also integrated into our ingredients, right? So we have these ingredients in certain packaging items where, they add cornstarch, or they add rice flour, or they add some sort of grain to make some sort of substance. Now there's alternative grains in these processed foods, like almond flours and such, and we'll get to that at another time. But we're really I'm trying to break down the food pyramid in a way where you can understand that the way that we have been programmed to eat is the way that is making us sick. Okay. And I think a lot of us have kind of woken up to this, right? We see that the world is in a state where it's super unhealthy. There is a lot of disease, and doctors in particular have not really been trained in a diet aspect. I actually know a doctor personally. His name is Ken Berry, and you can find a lot of his videos on YouTube. And I like to use him as one of my sources for information. But he talks about going through doctor school and how he wasn't even trained on diet. He's more so trained to promote surgeries or to promote medication. And in fact, he even has representatives of pharmaceutical companies that, come to sell him drugs in order to push to his clients. So it's not really a cure of a disease type of system. It's really a system to promote disease and then to give a option that they can make more money. It's just this continual loop of a corrupt system that's out to get money from you. And that's really what it comes down to. And so they've actually pushed this really unhealthy food pyramid to us since a very, very young age. And we just don't question these things, right? And so when you get to a point in your life where you are unhealthy and you're like, what is going on? Even if I'm following macros, or I'm following, the standard American diet, or I'm trying to do better, I'm trying to, just eat more vegetables or whatever, you tend to find that you're still not making any progress, that you're still not actually feeling healthy. You're not really feeling good. You're not able to get fit. Your mental health's out of whack. Your biochemistry is all weird. Things just still aren't aligning for you. And so now you can kind of look at this standard American diet in this way where you start to perceive that it really isn't the truth. Okay. So you have this baseline of where we're supposed to eat all these grains, and that's also been promoted in this alternative world too, right? Where now you have grains that are like almond flour, coconut flour. We're still just pushing junk. These things aren't necessarily going to get us healthy, and in fact are going to destroy our gut health even more. And so we actually need to think about when we are eating this food, we are transforming that gut health. It starts there, right? It starts in the mouth with the breakdown of saliva and the enzymes there, goes down your esophagus and into your gut. And that is where the microorganisms are formed. And from this point, that gut is connected to your brain. Okay. So this is where a lot of mental health issues start, is in that gut-brain connection. And so we need to be mindful of that when we are eating, it starts there. It starts in this microbiome thing going on in your stomach, which scientists still really don't understand when it comes down to it, because it changes all the time. There is so many studies out there on how this works. Even like probiotics in some sense, like they're not real sure about that, because now there's studies saying that maybe too much diversity in the gut can cause problems, and simplicity may be the answer, right? And that makes sense, because if you have too many things going on, don't you feel like chaotic? So wouldn't it kind of mimic that internally as well? Like if you have too many things in your gut and it's connected to your brain, would your body not be semi-confused? And so, putting all of this into perspective, really thinking and diving deep into this stuff really helps when it comes to your health, your fitness, your life, because truly it's all connected. Okay, so you're eating these substances, and not only is there a reaction happening in your gut where new life is created, some is killed off. There's a brain connection there. Then your brain releases the commands to shuttle certain things into certain cells, into the bloodstream, like also producing chemicals, dopamine, chemicals if you've had a rush of sugar or if you feel satisfied. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things that's going on when you eat food, right? And so really thinking about that, all these things are deeply connected. And so when you have this grain-based thing and you understand that is connected, and then stuff about like grain brain, right? Where, this promotes kind of a yeasty chemical imbalance in your body, and also like spikes glucose in your body, which can create insulin resistance, which then leads to, diabetes, dementia, inflammation in the body, which really is the root of all disease. And we'll get into that in another video. But these things, that you're eating on a consistent basis, if it is grain-based, it's not promoting your health, it's degrading it, it's causing issues. And our bodies don't necessarily need it. It's almost like a filler in some sense. It's a filler, to satisfy hunger, but never really nourish the body, nourish the mind, nourish the soul. Okay, so with all those reactions happening in your body, and understanding that when you do eat a grain-based meal, that you are just kind of filling your body, but not really giving it any substance or nourishment or anything like that, then you can kind of move on from that and realize like that's not really necessary. In fact, it's probably causing me more problems than I would even think. And when you remove, and you don't even have to take my word for this, because when you remove the grain from your body for like 30 days and you've gotten rid of the bacteria and microorganisms in your gut that are connected to that, then you will see for yourself that you don't need the grains, because your mind will get more clear. You'll have more energy. You won't feel like sluggish during the day. In fact, your hunger for meals will be more sustained. You won't have this up and down, because when you are eating these grain-based meals, you're spiking those insulin levels super fast and then they're crashing. There's no sustainability to your energy, to your mood, to your mindset, right? And so then when you get rid of the grains and you realize that, then it kind of moves up to the second tier, right, in this food pyramid, which is the vegetables, right? So I'm not saying veggies are bad at all. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that vegetables have been overbred to the point where they're not really what we used to be eating in nature. And in fact, we wouldn't eat a lot of vegetables in nature in general, right? Because our ancestors knew that if we ate too many of these vegetables, we would actually get sick. And most of these vegetables And most of these herbs that were utilized were more so as medicinal. It was more so a medicine. And you can kind of witness this with a dog, you know. When a dog, which is a carnivore being, right, you know, feels like his stomach's upset, or maybe he's just lacking a little bit of food, then he will eat something, right? Grass. I have herbs here. I see them eat grass. I see them eat certain herbs. They find particular things that they'll eat, but they won't eat very much. And it's always if there's something going on. They're utilizing this as a medicine. If you go deeper into the diet realm, that you'll actually find that plants can have some negative effects in our body. So just like these grain-based things are plants that are processed into a version that we can eat, these plants in particular can have some negative consequences because they have a internal defense mechanism, right? So if you think about, you know, protecting your life, because, you know, we're supposed to be reproducing in this life, the animals are supposed to be reproducing, the plants are supposed to be reproducing. It's all about creation, right? We want to continue to create so that way the world doesn't, you know, go extinct. We need everything to create. So if we think about it in that mindset and we think about plants, they have a internal defense mechanism. They're not an animal. They don't have claws. They don't have any kind of way to defend themselves externally, and they're like stuck in their spots, right? They can't move. They can't run away from you. And so when we think about it in that way, they don't necessarily want to be eaten. And so a lot of plants, unless they want to be eaten, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but if they don't want to be eaten, they're going to have an internal defense mechanism where they are going to release chemicals into your body to damage your body to protect themselves so you won't eat them again. And there's some, you know, studies out there where there's been, I think it was deer that were eating off a particular tree, and they ate enough of it, and the whole entire you know, deer, what do you call them? I don't even know. Deer group, flock, I don't know, died from eating this tree because it poisoned them internally because they didn't want to be eaten. So you have to think about that when it comes to plants, that there is an internal defense mechanism there. And so eating a lot of plants isn't necessarily good for us. In fact, it actually binds to some of our good nutrients and expels them from our body, making us depleted of certain minerals and vitamins that our body needs. Some of them cause oxalate damage in your body, which is like these little, you know, like glass kind of like that cut through your gut, get into your blood, and just cause like internal damage. And of course, our bodies can recover from this if we're not doing this often, right? We need to give our bodies some time to recover from these things if we're going to be eating them. And that's why fasting is so important. And we'll get to that in a later video. But, you know, thinking about this, thinking about these anti-nutrients and stuff that these plants release into your body, and then the binding and then the cutting in your body, they are defending themselves. They don't want you to eat them. Now, there are some plants that do less damage, like wild berries. They want to be eaten. And the reason they want to be eaten is because when we eat them, we poop them out just like a bird does or another animal. And that helps spread their seed. So that's how they reproduce. So you have to like really think about how nature works when it comes down to your body, that everything is connected, right? That even the external world is connected to your internal world and vice versa. So if there's a plant out there that wants to be eaten, then it's going to be appealing to the eye. It's going to be, you know, there might be seeds on the outside, right? And so think about this. It might be seasonal. It wants you to eat it. Now, it is to be known that the stem and the roots and the seed of most plants are the most toxic of the plant. So like a flower, maybe the leaves in small amounts, you know, things like that aren't going to be as toxic, but definitely, you know, think about that, right? The stem and the root, if you pull those out, then it can't survive. And so of course it's going to be more toxic, unless for some reason it wanted to be eaten. So keep that in mind, how our natural world works. If you can think about how our world actually works and not how they're teaching us, we're like, oh, everything's so kind and compassionate. And if you just look at a lion, they're so gentle. Like, no, this is nature. Like, nature wants to survive. And so when we think about it that way, then we can understand how food works in our body, and how we react to the food in return. And like I said, remove these things for a while. When you do remove plants, keep in mind and grains that you're going to have like a transition period where you're going to feel bad, because first of all, the gut bacteria in your gut wants to live. It wants to survive. They are living things in your gut. So they are going to tell you like, oh no, like you're starving me of sugar. Like we need the sugar or we're going to die. And so when you think about it that way, they want to survive also. And so when you're getting rid of the things in your body that are hurting you, they're going to hurt you in return because they want you to continue to feed them. It's just like everything in life. It is all connected. It all matters. So think about that, when you are eating, what does this thing have a external defense mechanism? If it does, it's probably going to be safer, because if you can, kill that thing, its defense is gone, and then you can consume it without having problems with your body, right? And so this is why I walked kind of further into keto and carnivore, because I started to make all these connections and do more research and realize that our body utilizes the things that aren't hurting us more and will benefit us, right? And so carnivore in particular, there is no internal defense mechanism needed, because when you eat carnivore, their external mechanisms are there. They don't need an internal mechanism. Your body is actually going to utilize these things, which is why we see a lot of bowel changes at that time, because our body is not receiving a lot of waste, right? So when you eat a lot of fiber, you eat a lot of grains, junk food in general, or plants, then there's a lot of waste that comes with that. And so your body has to get rid of it. But when you eat more of a carnivore diet, a more keto carnivore diet, then you actually start to utilize the food that you're eating. You're not having a bunch of waste. And so you actually will have some bowel changes that come with that, as in, you're going to get healthier overall. Your gut's going to be healthier. Your microbiome is going to be healthier. You're going to feel great. And then also you may not go to the bathroom, or you may not poop as often. You may, pee often, but you're not going to expel waste as often. And then obviously, when we look at the rest of the food pyramid, it's just kind of silly that's in there, to be honest. Fruits, there are some good fruits. Like I said, you want to think seasonally, like what do we eat during the year? We don't need to be eating an abundance of fruits, because unless you were like in the southern world where it's warm all the time, that would kind of make sense. But I do want to mention that, like, when we went to Thailand, they are very fruit forward, grain based people, because that's what they have. And they were all very skinny, but they were super unhealthy because they were just missing a lot of teeth. And you can look at studies around teeth, and the teeth need a lot of fat and protein. They don't need sugar. And in fact, sugar is the problem, but especially if you don't have adequate amounts of fat in your diet, then that's where the cavities and stuff come into play, because you're not nourishing your body to repair these things. You're just damaging it with, high spikes in glucose and malnourishment through tons of fruits and binding, enzyme binding chemicals that are expelling your good nutrients. So when I went to Thailand, like I said, they were missing a lot of teeth. They weren't very healthy in general because they were eating a lot of fruit and a lot of grains. And fruit, especially high glycemic fruit, which is most of the unnatural fruits of the world that have been overbred, are going to spike those insulin levels. So, for someone that is a diabetic, for instance, that, maybe you just eat the standard American diet and your junk food is like cakes and packaged food and stuff, then moving into a diet that has more fruit in it for your desserts is actually going to help you. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that is going to transition for you, especially if you're putting the base of your diet more of in the protein and fat realm, right? So it can be a good thing temporarily, but eventually you don't want to be, utilizing fruits as the bulk of your food either. Even though some of them do want to be eaten, but thinking more of a seasonal basis. What is in season? How much should I actually be eating of that? And am I fueling myself with mostly proteins and fats? Which is funny because on the food pyramid, what is that? That's like the third one up, but that should be at our base. And so when you think about this food pyramid, you'll kind of understand now why we're having so many problems in our world with health, because it's backwards, really. It's backwards. I don't even know why we have a sweet options, because and that's like what, candies and oils and stuff like that, because it just doesn't make any sense to put that on a food pyramid, because that shouldn't even be like a thing for health. Like, when it comes to processed sweets and stuff, it's man-made junk. Like, nature didn't provide that for us. It didn't provide candy, and it provided some syrups, so like maple syrup, honey, and that's seasonal. Once again, that's a seasonal thing, and you can only have so much of it, right? Unless you figured out how to store it, and store it for the person, for the family, right? So like, think about that. Like, really put some thought in, what does health actually look like when it comes to nature, right? When it comes to how nature works. And then you'll be healthy, because you'll understand how everything kind of works together in unison. And if you can mimic how nature is healthy, then you will be healthy too. So having, candy and stuff, like, it's just unnecessary, unless it's, I don't even want to say as a treat, because honestly, your treats should be more so things that you make from scratch. If you want to make a pie or something occasionally, it just shouldn't be on the food pyramid. It should be like a very side note when it comes to health, right? In regards to oils, like, your oils should be animal based. Like, it should not be vegetable oil based. Margarine, like, shouldn't even be a thing. You can't believe it's not butter, because it's not butter. And we don't want to be eating things that are man-made, that are chemically made, because like I said, it affects your gut, it affects your mind, it affects your body in a very, very negative way. So these things are infused with man-made vitamins and minerals. It's not the same as what God provided us, right? So keep that in mind. Vegetable oils and stuff like that are highly connected to mental health issues, and we have tons of mental health issues in the world, but animal fats actually help change mental health issues. And if you can eat more of a keto carnivore type of diet, you will actually eliminate those. There's studies where schizophrenia is actually being healed with keto carnivore diets. So there's information out there that is being hidden from us, honestly, because if we decided to start healing ourselves, if we actually took control of our health, if we actually started looking at how nature worked and actually really thought about it, on how these things changed our body, changed our mind, changed our soul, then we wouldn't need this weird, corrupt system that is promoting a problem to give you this solution so they can keep putting money into their pocket and never give you a cure, never actually make you healthy. And so you get stuck in their system, and that's kind of where we're at. And that's why, I became a coach, because I saw this in my own healing journey, and I just keep getting more and more information as I go. And I love to share that with people, because the only way you can get out of the propaganda when it comes to health is if you really start to think about what you're doing. If you really actually get conscious about what you're putting into your body, what you're feeding your mind with, what you're instilling into your soul, right? Like I said 1,000 times, like all of this is connected. It's just taking the time to truly think about it and heal. Like this is a healing journey for everyone. This whole course is a healing journey. Like there's steps to getting to a, whole and holistic body in it. And it takes a while. This is not a macro mathematic manipulating thing, like most diet coaches promote, right? They want you to just follow these macros where you're counting calories and you get so much protein and fat and carbs. Like, yes, you can see transformation with manipulating these things, but you're not going to get a full transformation because you're still eating the man-made chemicals. You're still feeding your body with junk, right? You're not actually healing everything. You're just manipulating it. And so like I said, just keep that in mind. I hope that what I'm saying here really makes sense to you guys. And feel free to message me at any time during this course. And if you have any questions, and we will talk deeper about whatever thought that you had or concern that you might have or any further questions.